Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to another Studio Ghibli Month review. And today we will be reviewing Tales from Earthsea. Now, this is one of the more recent Studio Ghibli films I've seen, and it's apparently one of the more divisive ones for fans of the studio. A lot of people I noticed do not like this film. And while I admit it's not anywhere near my favorite of the Studio Ghibli library, I don't think it's bad. I don't think most of any Studio Ghibli film is bad. But Tales from Earthsea, it has issues for sure, but I wouldn't call it bad. But let's get into it. So, we have a really eclectic group of characters here. The main character, though, is Prince Arin. Arin is this prince of a kingdom who kills his father and then just kind of runs off. And the story centers around him and some friends he makes along the way, basically having to deal with just the kingdom's struggles with darkness, as well as life itself, and how that darkness and shadow and fear can affect life. Now, there is a main villain, but I'm going to get to him in a moment. So our main character, Prince Arin, he's a 17-year-old prince who is just deeply afraid of things like of death, of darkness, all of that kind of stuff. And as we see throughout the movie, it causes him to kind of do these things that are kind of you could say are out of character for him. But it's kind of like his heart's kind of being taken in by the darkness, and he has to keep struggling to keep it from doing so. Now, in this film, it seems like darkness is like a actual force, sort of like the dark side of the Force in Star Wars. It is an actual, like, real thing. It's not just like, oh, there's darkness in your heart, not like a metaphorical sense. No, it's a real thing. So when Prince Arin gives way to the darkness, his heart gives way to the darkness, it's like there is an actual force tearing his heart, tearing his mental stability away from him. Also to note, there's also a big theme in this film with names. Magic is definitely a part of the world in Tales from Earthsea, and basically magic is used by utilizing the true name of something or someone. Everything on Earth and every person has a true name. The movie doesn't go too much into it, though, and that's kind of unfortunate because I feel like we needed more information. I feel like it gave us the surface level info we needed, like, okay, mages and whatnot use this information in order to use their magic. And everyone and everything has it. But that's pretty much it, to the best of my knowledge, unless I missed something, which is possible. But they don't go into like how people know the true names of things, where that comes from, and like what the difference between using your true name and using, I guess, the name you just normally go by is. There's a lot of questions it brings. But then we have some other characters who come in as well. Arin makes friends with this wanderer named Sparrowhawk, who we find out later is a famous wizard known as the Archmage. We also meet Teru, who is a burn victim who's kind of shy, and she really doesn't like Arin at first. She actually kind of hates him because like he seems to like go crazy during their first meeting due to the darkness and everything taking its grip on him. But she does learn to actually care for him as the movie goes on. And we also have Tenar, who is an old friend of Sparrowhawk who is actually caring for Teru. She's kind of like this housewife character, but she also like brews potions and stuff for people. People kind of view her as a witch, but they still go to her because they know her potions and stuff work. And then we have our villains. And this is kind of the weakest point of the film. And it's disappointing because Studio Ghibli usually does pretty well with its villains. But with Tales from Earthsea, it's not as much. The first villain we really see is Hare, or Hare. I don't remember how it's pronounced. I think it's Hare. Hare is this is a slaver, I believe it's called. He's this sort of like servant to the main villain who captures people to be slaves and whatnot. He takes his job seriously and he revels in it. He loves his job. He's voiced beautifully by Cheech Marine. Cheech Marine does like a fantastic over-the-top performance as Hare, and it just works so well. But the main villain is named Cobb, and he's voiced very underwhelmingly by Willem Dafoe. You might know Willem Dafoe as Ryuk in the Netflix Death Note movie, or as the Green Goblin in the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. And he's done a lot of other things, of course. For example, he was in Murder on the Orient Express from last year. But he's always been known for being able to do amazingly over-the-top villainous portrayals in movies. His portrayal as the Green Goblin is a phenomenal example of that. And so you'd think, with him voicing a villain in a Studio Ghibli film, it would be amazing, but it's not. The character of Cobb is very held back. He's very calm and relaxed, and he doesn't, like, go crazy or anything much until the end of the film. He doesn't, like, really get to, like, yell or scream or go just over the top. And even when he does, it's still underwhelming. Like, I don't know, like, what the deal here was, but Willem Dafoe just, I don't think he didn't seem like he, with his voice at least, he didn't seem like he was interested in this film. He felt like he was just doing this for the paycheck, because his performance just felt so flat. It was boring, and it didn't really give personality to this villain. He could have very easily given more personality and tone and performance to it, and it would have still worked, but he didn't, and it's really disappointing. The villain himself, like Cobb himself as a villain, is okay. Like, I enjoy the idea of a villain who's more held back and reserved and calm, because that can actually be, in some cases, more terrifying than a villain who's just out there with his personality. A villain who's calm and collected can actually be pretty freaking scary. Because it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. He's realistically scary. He's not, like, bombastic with it. He's just frightening. And Cobb had so much potential for that. But the voice acting from Willem Dafoe did not sell it at all. We have some other characters in there. We have Suzanne Blakesley as the Queen of Enland, Aron's mother. She has a very, very short appearance, as does some of the other characters. We have Jess Harnell, amazing voice actor, doing basically being a drug dealer in the background. Well, not in the background, but in like one small scene. It doesn't amount to anything. And that's what a lot of this film kind of comes across to me. None of it really amounts to anything. It's like it's trying to tell this big, grand story, this big, amazing fantasy story, but it just doesn't do much. Now, again, it's not a bad movie. It's still enjoyable to a point. Timothy Dalton is the voice of Sparrowhawk, and he delivers a great performance. Matt Levin is Prince Aron. He does well. Blair Rastanio, I think it's pronounced, is Teru. We have Mariska Hargitay, of all people, as Tenar. There's a lot of great voice actors, and except for Willem Dafoe, they all do a great job. The art and animation is as good as you would expect from a Studio Ghibli film. The soundtrack is great, and it has some really good imagery. This shot, for example, is really encapturing, and there's a lot of ones like that. I won't tell you like this big twist that comes at the end, but it kind of feels phoned in, I'll be honest. It doesn't feel like it came across naturally or like there was any real build up to it. It just kind of feels like, oh, we're going to mention something at the beginning of the movie, not really bring it up again throughout the rest of the film, and then bring it back up at the end. It's like, okay, why? And why did they do it in the way they did? It felt forced. It felt really forced. But the in-between stuff could still be very entertaining. I did like Teru's character. I liked Tenar. I liked Sparrowhawk. I even liked Prince Arin to a point. I liked how his entire character basically centered around him fighting with his inner feelings and the darkness taking his heart and everything. It's kind of relatable in a way. A lot of people, myself included, have struggled with doing some bad things through their lives and have struggled with the ideas between right and wrong. That's just realistic. Everyone goes through those kind of struggles at some point. Of course, not to necessarily the degree that Arin did. I mean, I doubt most of us have killed our fathers and then run away and kind of had freakouts at moments. But still. One thing I definitely will give this movie is it really hammers in the strong female character trope. Which is, as I've mentioned before, I love it. I love strong female characters. I think it's amazing when they're integrated properly. And not just made to seem like a plot device. And this one really does it well. Like, Teru is an amazing, strong female character who just radiates just this powerful, lovable personality and character to her. And it really shows her strength without invalidating the strength of the other characters like Arin and Sparrowhawk at all. It's just fantastic overall in that sense. But the movie is kind of mixed in total for me. It does have its downsides, but it does have its great upsides as well. So I don't think it's as bad as some people say, but I do think it has its issues that can't be denied. So tell me in the comments below what you thought of Tales from Earthsea. What did you think of the characters, the story, and the plot twists that happen? Thank you so much for tuning in to this Studio Ghibli Month review, and for now, I'm Connie Royal, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.